That's right, feel the burn. If you want more justice in the justice system, then we've all got to vote not just for a president, but for mayors and sheriffs and state's attorneys and state legislatures. That's where the criminal law is made. And we've got to work with police and protesters until laws and practices are changed. That's how democracy works. If you want to fight climate change, we've got to engage not only young people on college campuses, we've got to reach out to the coal miner who's worried about taking care of his family, the single mom worried about gas prices. If you want to protect our kids and our cops from gun violence, we've got to get the vast majority of Americans, including gun owners who agree on things like background checks, to be just as vocal and just as determined as the gun lobby that blocks change through every funeral that we hold. That is how change happens. Look, Hillary's got her share of critics. She has been caricatured by the right and by some on the left. She has been accused of everything you can imagine and some things that you cannot. But she knows that's what happens when you're under a microscope for 40 years. She knows that sometimes during those 40 years she's made mistakes, just like I have, just like we all do. That's what happens when we try. That's what happens when you're the kind of citizen Teddy Roosevelt once described. Not the timid souls who criticize from the sidelines, but someone who is actually in the arena, who strives valiantly, who errs, but who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement. Hillary Clinton is that woman in the arena. She's been there for us, even if we haven't always noticed. And if you're serious about our democracy, you can't afford to stay home just because she might not align with you on every issue. You've got to get in the arena with her, because democracy isn't a spectator sport. America isn't about, yes, he will. It's about, yes, we can. And we're going to carry Hillary to victory this fall because that's what the moment demands. Yes, we can. Not yes, she can, not yes, I can. Yes, we can. There's been a lot of talk in this campaign about what America has lost. People who tell us that our way of life is being undermined by pernicious changes and dark forces beyond our control. They tell voters there's a real America out there that must be restored. This isn't an idea, by the way, that started with Donald Trump. It's been peddled by politicians for a long time, probably from the start of our republic. And it's gotten me thinking about the story I told you 12 years ago tonight, about my Kansas grandparents and the things they taught me when I was growing up. See, my grandparents, they came from the heartland. Their ancestors began settling there about 200 years ago. I don't know if they had their birth certificates, but they were there. And they were Scotch-Irish mostly. Farmers, teachers, ranch hands, pharmacists, oil rig workers. Hardy, small-town folk. Some were Democrats, but a lot of them, maybe even most of them, were Republicans. Party of Lincoln. And my grandparents explained that folks in these parts, they didn't like show-offs. They didn't admire braggarts or bullies. They didn't respect mean-spiritedness or folks who were always looking for shortcuts in life. Instead, what they valued were traits like honesty and hard work, kindness, courtesy, humility, responsibility, helping each other out. That's what they believed in. True things. Things that last. The things we try to teach our kids. And what my grandparents understood was that these values weren't limited to Kansas. They weren't limited to small towns. These values could travel to Hawaii. They could travel even to the other side of the world, where my mother would end up working to help poor women get a better life, trying to apply those values. My grandparents knew these values weren't reserved for one race. They could be passed down to a half Kenyan grandson or a half Asian granddaughter. In fact, they were the same values Michelle's parents, the descendants of slaves, taught their own kids living in a bungalow on the south side of Chicago. They knew these values were exactly what drew immigrants here. And they believed that the children of those immigrants were just as American as their own. Whether they wore a cowboy hat or a yarmulke, a baseball cap or a hijab. America has changed over the years. But these values that my grandparents taught me, they haven't gone anywhere. They're as strong as ever. Still cherished by people of every party, every race, every faith. They live on in each of us. What makes us American, what makes us patriots, is what's in here. That's what matters. And that's why we can take the food and music and holidays and styles of other countries and blend it into something uniquely our own. That's why we can attract strivers and entrepreneurs from around the globe to build new factories and create new industries here. That's why our military can look the way it does. Every shade of humanity forged into common service. That's why anyone who threatens our values, whether fascists or communists or jihadists or homegrown demagogues, will always fail in the end. That is America. That is America. Those bonds of affection, that common creed. We don't fear the future, we shape it. We embrace it as one people, stronger together than we are on our own. That's what Hillary Clinton understands. This fighter, this stateswoman, this mother and grandmother, this public servant, this patriot That's the America she's fighting for. And that is why I have confidence, as I leave this stage tonight, that the Democratic Party is in good hands. My time in this office, it hasn't fixed everything. As much as we've done, there's still so much I want to do. But for all the tough lessons I've had to learn, for all the places where I've fallen short, I've told Hillary, and I'll tell you what's picked me back up every single time. It's been you, the American people. It's the letter I keep on my wall from a survivor in Ohio who twice almost lost everything to cancer, but urged me to keep fighting for health care reform, even when the battle seemed lost. Do not quit. It's the painting I keep in my private office, a big-eyed green owl with blue wings, made by a 7-year-old girl who was taken from us in Newtown, given to me by her parents so I wouldn't forget. A reminder of all the parents who have turned their grief into action. It's the small business owner in Colorado who cut most of his own salary so he wouldn't have to lay off any of his workers in the recession, because he said that wouldn't have been in the spirit of America. It's the conservative in Texas who said he disagreed with me on everything, but he appreciated that, like him, I try to be a good dad. It's the courage of the young soldier from Arizona who nearly died on the battlefield in Afghanistan, but who has learned to speak again and walk again. And earlier this year stepped through the door of the Oval Office on his own power to salute and shake my hand. It is every American who believed we could change this country for the better. So many of you who'd never been involved in politics, who picked up phones and hit the streets and used the internet in amazing new ways that I didn't really understand but made change happen. You are the best organizers on the planet, and I am so proud of all the change that you made possible. Time and again, you've picked me up. And I hope sometimes I picked you up too. And tonight, I ask you to do for Hillary Clinton what you did for me. I ask you to carry her the same way you carried me, because you're who I was talking about 12 years ago when I talked about hope. It's been you who fueled my dogged faith in our future, even when the odds were great, even when the road is long. Hope in the face of difficulty, hope in the face of uncertainty, the audacity of hope. America, you've vindicated that hope these past 8 years. And now I'm ready to pass the baton and do my part as a private citizen. So this year, in this election, I'm asking you to join me to reject cynicism and reject fear, and to summon what is best in us to elect Hillary Clinton as the next president of the United States and show the world we still believe in the promise of this great nation. Thank you for this incredible journey. Let's keep it going. God bless you. God bless the United States of America.
Barack Obama, the 44th President of the United States, giving a masterclass in political speeches, saying goodbye to the American public, to the Democrats in this hall, who clearly still have an awful lot of affection for this man, making the case for why Hillary Clinton should replace him in the White House, and giving a stinging condemnation at the same time of Hillary Clinton's opponent, Donald Trump. And here on the stage comes Hillary Clinton. The two one-time rivals, the woman Barack Obama once described in a debate back in 2008 as likable enough, and was widely criticized for saying so. Now allies and on the same side, and the greatest tribute to Barack Obama's legacy would be if Hillary Clinton gets elected to the White House in November and continues the policies of the Democratic Party and of his presidency for the last 8 years. Anthony Zerker, our political reporter, is with me here up on the stage. Anthony, what did you make of it?
Well, this is a metaphorical passing of the torch right now, with Hillary Clinton coming out on the stage, them embracing and waving to the crowd. It's pretty remarkable that this crowd, you could hear them just erupt when they saw her out there. And Barack Obama is essentially teeing this up for Hillary Clinton tomorrow night. He's set the stage for her, and everyone is going to be watching to see how she performs. But I don't think anyone could have done a better job laying the groundwork for why 8 years of Democratic administration has been good for this country, in contrast to what Donald Trump has been saying, and why, as he said, the American people need to elect Hillary Clinton to continue it.
You know, I'm just watching them on the stage from up here in the rafters, but after everything you know these two have been through in that bruising 2008 campaign, that was a remarkable minute that they just shared on the stage there.
One of Obama's more powerful points when talking about Hillary Clinton is saying how they were opponents at one point, and that he kept fighting against him in the 2008 presidential campaign. She didn't give up, but then she rallied to his side. He turned to her as Secretary of State, and he hasn't been disappointed. It was actually, Donald Trump opened the door for that when he said, well, Barack Obama probably regrets naming Hillary Clinton Secretary of State. He set that up for Barack Obama to give that impassioned defense of his cabinet official, and so he did.
He painted the portrait of somebody who carries on fighting and has fought all her life for working class Americans, and contrasted that with Donald Trump. I mean, part of this was a tribute to Hillary Clinton, but part of this was a takedown of the Republican candidate.
I think he probably spent more time, if I look at the minutes, a lot more time talking about Donald Trump, either explicitly or implicitly, than he even did talking about Hillary Clinton. And I think he feels very deeply that Donald Trump represents a threat to what he perceives as American values. So I think he's been on the sidelines for much of this year, waiting for the moment to, come out and go after Donald Trump, and this was the moment he's been relishing.
How important is it to Barack Obama and to Barack Obama's political legacy that Hillary Clinton is elected in November?
Well, there's the strategic reasons. I mean, there's a Supreme Court position open that can determine his legacy. Also, legislatively, if you have a Republican in the presidency and Republicans in Congress, they're going to undo a lot of his crowning achievements, such as health care reform. And so I think he feels that he needs her to defend it. It's a tenuous thing. A lot of what he did was through executive action because Congress wasn't passing anything. President Donald Trump has already said he's going to reverse a lot of that. President Hillary Clinton has said she's going to continue it on. So I think he sees it as essential.